Welcome to this explainer. Okay, let's dive into this. Today, we're stepping far beyond the everyday geopolitical headlines to unearth the complex, ancient, and honestly deeply fascinating roots of Afghan culture. We're going to explore a rich, multi layered history that has shaped the region for millennia, and we'll look closely at how ancient beliefs still silently echo in modern daily life. So, here is the big central question we're unpacking today. Is Afghan culture, at its absolute core, fundamentally more Zoroastrian or more Islamic? Now, we aren't here to take a definitive side or get tangled up in modern debates. Instead, we're taking an impartial, historical, and anthropological journey to explore the culture as a whole. We really want to peel back those layers to understand exactly how a civilization builds its unique identity over thousands and thousands of years. To really wrap our heads around this, we need to understand a pretty cool concept known as a palimpsest. Basically, a palimpsest is an ancient parchment where original texts are written over by new ones. But those old words, they're never fully erased. They leave this faint, permanent trace underneath. And this is exactly how we should visualize Afghanistan's culture. It isn't just a simple binary of one religion completely replacing another. It's a living, breathing historical document where older, pre-Islamic traditions silently survive right beneath the newer, dominant ones. So, the crucial point here is understanding the relationship between two massive cultural forces. On one side, we have what you could call the Islamic superstructure. These are the formal walls of society. Think official law, theology, political institutions, and public worship. But beneath all that, we have the Zoroastrian substrate. This is the ancient foundation. It provides the deep, everyday rituals, the local folklore, the aesthetics, and the people's intense psychological connection to nature. Basically, Islam acts as the conscious public identity, while the Zoroastrian heritage provides the underlying cultural soul. And this layered history isn't just theoretical, it's totally physical. Consider the meticulous work of archaeologists, literally cleaning dirt off recovered artifacts. It perfectly captures our objective approach today. Just as archaeologists carefully brush away the earth in places like the Bamiyan Valley to reveal stunning Buddhist and Zoroastrian artifacts, we're brushing away the surface layer to reveal the historical artifacts hidden within Afghan culture itself. Let's actually map out this ancient heritage for a second. Long before Islam arrived, the geography of Afghanistan was profoundly sacred to Zoroastrianism. Up north, Balkh is historically recognized as the birthplace and primary teaching ground of the prophet Zarathustra himself. Moving south to Arakosia, which is modern-day Kandahar, we find a region revered as the second fatherland of Zoroastrianism and a major hub for the solar cult of Zun. And over at Surkotal, archaeologists uncovered a monumental 2nd-century Kushan fire temple. These aren't just old ruins, they're the literal geographic anchors of the region's ancient spiritual identity. And this brilliantly illustrates our palimpsest concept in physical form. Take the architectural evolution of the Noah Bahar complex in Balkh, for example. Step 1. It started out as a highly renowned Zoroastrian fire temple, guarded by powerful high priests known as the Magi, specifically the Barmakid family. Step 2. Over centuries, as demographics shifted, it naturally transformed into a Buddhist monastery. And finally, Step 3. It was built over to become the No Gombud, or Nine Domes Mosque, which happens to be the oldest surviving Islamic structure in Afghanistan. It's literally one physical space with 3 distinct layers of faith perfectly stacked right on top of one another. But here's the thing. This layered history isn't just trapped in ancient stones. It actually lives on in the people today. According to anthropological accounts, there's a fascinating survival happening right now in the rural areas of Balkh. There are small, tight-knit communities of crypto-Zoroastrians. Outwardly, functioning in that public superstructure we talked about, they present as Muslims. But strictly inside the private walls of their homes, they use double names and secretly keep a holy fire burning in the hearth. It's just an incredible testament to how deeply rooted this identity really is. We also see this survival in everyday household rituals. For instance, burning isfand, or wild rue, is incredibly common across the country to ward off the evil eye. Just imagine the sensory experience for a moment. The hissing of those seeds popping on hot coals, the thick, aromatic smoke filling up the room to cleanse the spirit. There's also a rural healing ritual that involves pouring water over 40 stones and 40 isfand seeds. This profound, everyday reliance on fire and water for both physical and spiritual purification, that is a direct, unbroken line back to pre-Islamic Zoroastrian reverence for these exact natural elements. Now, nowhere is this pre-Islamic heritage more vibrant and visible than during Nowruz, the massive Persian New Year festival celebrating the spring equinox. But Afghan Nowruz has its own uniquely ancient flavor. It kicks off with Jahanda Bala, which is the raising of a grand standard at Mazar-e Sharif. Then, instead of the Iranian Hafseen table, Afghans prepare Haft Mewa. This is 7 specific dried fruits soaked in rosewater, directly symbolizing the 7 creations of the supreme Zoroastrian deity, Ahura Mazda. And finally, you have the Samanak. Women will actually stay up all night cooking this sweet wheat pudding, stirring it while singing traditional, ancient songs of rebirth and fertility. This ancient soul also sings right through Afghan folk music. Consider this really beautiful lyric from the popular folk song Shab-e Kohestan, which translates to, "O candle of the mountain night, my heart has gone to my beloved." Now, in the West, we might just read that and see a candle. But in this specific cultural context, the metaphor of the moth and the flame is deeply Zoroastrian. The candle represents the ultimate spiritual beloved, literally consuming itself to provide light and warmth in a cold, chaotic universe. It is a direct echo of ancient fire veneration, brilliantly wrapped up in a love song. Let's shift gears to the intellectual realm for a second, because this builds into something quite subversive. The great mystical Sufi poets from the region, literary giants like Rumi and Sinai, essentially created a secret code to preserve pre-Islamic philosophy. In their poetry, orthodox concepts are playfully flipped on their head. When they write about taverns, they're actually using a metaphor for the ruins of old Zoroastrian fire temples, spaces they viewed as free from religious hypocrisy. Wine is an alcohol. It's the divine ecstasy that overrides our limited human reason. And the saki, or the wine bearer, that represents the Zoroastrian spiritual master, the Pire Mogan. They use this hidden vocabulary as a totally safe vehicle to express deep psychological struggles and divine love, all under a protective Islamic mantle. Amazingly, this cosmic philosophy is even written into the physical movements of the human body. Think about the national dance of the Pashtuns, the Atan. If you've ever seen it performed, you know it is absolutely mesmerizing. The dancers spin in this rapid, dizzying circle, and historically, this circular motion mimics the movement of the sun and the stars rotating around a central cosmic fire. In fact, in certain tribal variants, like the Katak Atan, men perform this incredibly intense spinning dance wielding swords entirely around a live, blazing bonfire. It's a breathtaking physical manifestation of ancient Aryan solar and fire rituals, and it is fiercely alive today. And you know, this ancient influence goes even deeper, right down into the moral fabric of the society itself. Let's compare the everyday laws of the Pashtun people with ancient ethics. Consider the Pashtunwali Code. This is a strict, unwritten tribal honor code that regulates everything from everyday hospitality to major justice, all aimed at preserving social harmony. Now align that with the ancient Zoroastrian triad, Humata, Hukta, Huvarshta, which translates to good thoughts, good words, good deeds. These two systems are deeply connected. They both place the ultimate moral burden on the individual to actively fight against chaos and lies to maintain cosmic and social order. And it's fascinating. In rural areas, when formal Islamic law conflicts with this ancient tribal code, the tribal code almost always wins out. Which brings us to our final thought. Islam undoubtedly built the theological walls of the modern Afghan house, right? It provides the overarching legal and political framework. But as this explainer has shown, we really have to ask, who furnished the rooms? When you look closely at the light, the reverence for fire, the rhythmic poetry, the spinning dances, and those unyielding tribal moral codes, it becomes incredibly clear that ancient Zoroastrian traditions have silently survived. They are exactly what decorate the interior of this cultural house, giving it a vibrant, enduring soul. So next time you see a geopolitical headline, try to remember the layers beneath. What ancient, hidden traditions might be silently furnishing the rooms of your own culture? Think about that, and keep exploring.